Hey there, welcome to episode 150 of Fresh Air at 5. Here's a milestone episode 150. I don't have the air horns because I'm out walking on the street right now, but we got the celebration air horns going on, and I'm pretty excited about the fact that I've made it to 150 episodes. Some upcoming changes. I'm going to probably change my music, maybe change my podcast logo here over the winter break, as I have a bit of time to do that. So there will be some changes in moving forward beyond episode 150. Something I've been doing has been creating Spotify playlists for my episodes. So if you want to hear the things that I have heard, you can click on the link in the show notes for the Spotify playlist. And that is one of the small changes that I've made this past year that I hope will take some, help you carry on with your podcast listening and bring you some new ideas. All right, we've had more than 8,000 downloads over the past 3 years, and average listenership size, according to Podcaster by Spotify, says that we are about 25 listeners per episode. Numbers have dropped a bit, maybe because I'm boring, but I don't know. Maybe people just get tired of listening to Carpenter ramble on about things. So the stats are there. I appreciate all of my listeners. Appreciate all of you that take time to listen. And without further ado, let's jump into episode 150, Fresh Air at 5. Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.
I'm Chris Nessie, host of Behind the Mic, Voices of the EPN, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood, to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at Fresh Air at 5, or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected.
Hey, PLN. It is Monday, December 18, 2023. Out for Fresh Air at 5 this morning. It is a beautiful morning, 5 degrees Celsius and clear. So I'm going to put some kilometers on, get some podcast listening in, get some exercise, and reflect. So yes, the first episode I bring you is episode 238 of the House of Ed Tech podcast with Chris Nessie. And Chris brings us a special conversation that happened actually on the Teachers on Fire podcast, a debate on Saturday morning that was live streamed on YouTube. I watched, Dan Krynas, Alex watched, and others as Chris Nessie went head to head with Dr. Matt Rhodes about the great cell phone debate. Chris Nessie is against banning, which is an interesting take as opposed to for cell phones in school. The way the question was posed, and Dr. Matt Rhodes is all for banning cell phones in schools. Talks about distraction, talks about inappropriate technology use, and that cell phones, of their own right, can cause so much damage. But we also have these little supercomputers that kids walk around with every day. And I believe, like Chris Nessie, that having these in the hands of students and teaching them in a safe space like school is so important for the future. And if we just ban them and don't teach them when it's appropriate and how to use them, then we're doing a disservice, because aren't we supposed to be getting students future ready? What is going to happen when they get their job and they got a cell phone? And is it the boss's responsibility to teach them how to use it when they're at work? Oh, no, that's right. They're going to ban them there too. All right, this is my opinion, and I think that schools should allow cell phones to be used in classrooms, at school, etc., and teach students good digital citizenship. Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate the episode. Okay, bye. Hey, the last thing for December 18, 2023. I just listened to episode 157 of Check This Out podcast. It's been a while since the boys, Ryan and Brian, have brought us a fantastic podcast with full of thought. So guys, hey, welcome back. Glad to have you back. It is titled Back in the Saddle. I think you should have spelled saddle SAIDDLE to incorporate the AI into your design. So that's just me thinking about that. And I really like the cover art as the two of you are sitting at a table from an image created by Microsoft Image Designer. You guys talk about all manner of AI. You talk all about how scary it is, Ryan. And it is scary how we have such tools at our ready that can take away from the creative process and those things that keep us being human. You know, last night, my family, we baked gingerbread panels. My wife made royal icing, and we stuck those things together, and my kids decorated by hand their gingerbread houses that they like to do. So we went and got the candy. I think it's about the candy, but no, you know what? There's a tradition in there. There's something that's creative in there about taking and making, and we do that. So that's one thing that we like to still do. Keeping an analog part of your life is so important. Don't rely on the AI. Don't rely on technology for everything. I tie flies. We talked once upon a time ago about fly fishing, and that, you know, tying flies is a creative thing that I like to do, and many do. And just how we can use materials with our hands that computers cannot touch. Okay, it's not about creativity and all that stuff. It's about AI. Listen to this episode. They bring us some great thoughts about it, and some benefits and some drawbacks, and lots and lots of tools. So go out there, have some fun, be creative with your prompting, and figure out how to be a better prompt engineer. All right, Ryan and Brian, hey, I'm coming to Spring Q. Got my hotel booked, flight, and registration. Oh, looking forward to seeing you guys. Okay, bye. Hey, PLN, December 19, 2023. Happy birthday to my friend, Kevin Fawcett. So just shout out to him, friend from high school and middle school. And yes, happy birthday, Kevin. All right, this morning I listened to The Generative Age, an episode that came out on December 17th with Alana Winnick. And she brought us an interview from NISCATE conference that happened a couple weeks ago. And she spoke with Michael M.J. Jabbour, who is the Chief Innovative Officer at Microsoft. And it was a fascinating conversation to listen to her talk about the things that are exciting to us and things that trouble us with the Chief Innovation Officer at Microsoft, and how he says Microsoft is caring for moving forward in this generative AI age. And yes, a lot of things going on. Thank you, Alana, for, you know, talking about what's going on in your Microsoft district. And we are a Microsoft district now, and we've only been a Microsoft district with our students for about a year, as staff for maybe about 6 years or 8 years. And as a result of that, you know, we are still at the cusp of learning what can be done, what is possible, you know, how does OneDrive work, and all those things. And then we throw in there Bing, and we throw in there, you know, generative AI in Microsoft tools. I haven't played with a lot of them yet. We don't have Designer turned on in our district yet. I don't know why, but maybe that's a question to ask. And yes, so thank you, Michael, for your thoughts about, you know, effective and responsible use of AI, and about the responsibleness of being human in this process, and providing some understanding of how did we get here. I really like it, Alana, about process over product. I've got a graphic I've come up with, and I'll probably send it to you. All right, thanks all. Have a fabulous day. One more podcast to listen to. Last thing for December 19, 2023, I forgot to mention my daughter turned 17 on Saturday, and we had a fantastic analog experience as we had our friends over for a make-your-own pizza party and ate cake, and we played card games, and we laughed, and technology was there, but it wasn't there a whole lot because we were engaged with each other as human beings. It was super awesome and super fun. So happy birthday to my daughter, and proud of you, sweetie. All right, this morning I listened to episode 169 of Tech Tools for Teachers with Shanna Martin and Fuzz Martin. And true story, Shanna, I was looking for some tech tools to do some I can't remember what last night, and I went to your website and I was looking through your host of library of tech tools that you've talked about over the years, and I saw the latest episode and these two topics that you talked about today, and the second one made sense, but the first one, you know what, I'm glad that I'm listening to the podcast this morning that you talk and give me instructions on how to use Emoji Kitchen. So Emoji Kitchen is a fun tech tool that takes you take two emojis and drop them into the center box or click on them, and it generates a number of combinations of those two emojis. And so we can make new emojis by iterating the combination of two emojis. Well, we don't, but the tool does. And then you can save those and use them places, which is super fun. And then there's the Funko Pop Yourself generator that's at FunkoPop.com. And you go there, and you'll have to get these links out of Shanna's podcast to get them specific. But you go there and you can make a Funko Pop character of yourself. Super fun. Lately on Microsoft Image Designer, there's a prompt suite that you can use to do the same over there. But this is great. Accessible to kids. Thanks, Shanna. Thanks, Fuzz. Happy and Merry Christmas. Hey, PLN, December 21st, 2023. Happy winter solstice. Winter solstice actually happens tonight at about 7:30 p.m. Pacific when we transition into the season of winter. Even though for many it already feels like winter, the winter season, lunarly or whatever it is, solarly, I don't know what it is, but anyhow, we actually begin the winter right away, which means that today's the shortest day of the year, and I'm out walking in the dark, and the sun won't rise until a bit later today, but then starting tomorrow, the sun will be up in the day a bit longer than not, which is super cool. I'm super excited. That means that spring is coming, and I like winter, but I really love the spring because I get to go spring fishing for rainbow trout. All right, that's all that. It's a great day. It's a beautiful day. It's misty out. I'm wet a little bit, not soaking. I've had a great walk, and I listened to episode number 9 of Embrace the Messy podcast with Shannon Schenkel. And Shannon's a wonderful podcaster. She brings on some guests. She's in episode 9, and she's got a lineup of podcasts already waiting to be published all the way into the new year. So Shannon's doing a great job of interviewing people, talking about life, and all the messy. She has on guests, and Lainey Rao, who is a friend of mine. I've been a guest on Lainey's podcast at one point. Good morning, Shannon. And as we were talking, it became evident that, I'm a gratitude person, and so is Lainey, and so is Shannon. This episode is incredible as Shannon talks about Lainey's journey and digs into where Lainey's come from and how she's got to where she's at. We all know that gratitude is an important practice, but how do we do that to be effective and meaningful? That is a whole lot of what Lainey does. It's great to hear her backstory and more about Lainey Rao. So thank you, Lainey. Appreciate you so very much. Take a listen to this episode, people, with Shannon and Lainey. Okay, bye. Hey, Hey, PLN, it's Friday, December 22, 2023. This is our last day of work, going to school, supporting students before we get a break here in Abbotsford until January 7th. Then we're back in the office on January 8th. Yes, it's a rush right into Christmas, but I'm not going to lie. I kind of like this format a little bit better than the whole week leading up to Christmas and all the time to prepare and so much time to prepare. My wife differs, but I like it. I like the fact that we get at it. Not saying that Christmas isn't important, but we can have actually some time to relax without all the activities and festivities and things that go on with Christmas. It puts some pressure on families to travel, to get together quick, to make a meal. But here we are, and I'm thankful that it is now the morning of the last day of school, so that I can, get a break. All right, we all need a break, and we're all feeling that right now. All right, this morning I listened to episode 9, or maybe 10, of Behind the Mic, Voices of the Educational Podcast Network, with Chris Nesi as host, as he brings us the hosts of the various podcasts that are part of the Educational Podcast Network, like I am a part of. This morning we hear from Dr. Sam Fesich, who is a instructor, professor at a school. I can't remember what school, but she works with pre-service teachers and growing them to become teachers, and it's so fantastic. Sam, as you grow these students, I've learned lots about, education, listening over the past couple of years from you. I haven't listened recently to your podcast, but I really encourage you, if you have a student teacher under your wing, to pass along Sam's podcast to them, have them listen and do those things. All right, so fantastic as we hear the journeys of podcasters, because we are people too, have feelings, and like Chris and Sam said, getting some feedback is really a big deal. So Sam, here's your feedback. Appreciate your show. Hope you're doing well today. Okay, Merry Christmas. One more thing for December 22, 23. I just listened to episode 16 of season 4 of the Teach Happier podcast. You need an inspiration and a boost. Suzanne Daly brings that every week. It's supposed to be listened to on Monday morning as we approach our work week. But, here it is Friday. And Suzanne, I'm listening today. But the point is that I'm listening and gaining some value. Last week you talked about guilt baked a pie. It really struck a chord, as you said, with myself and many others. And it got me thinking about how I approach tasks during this week, of whether I'm doing them because I feel guilty or because I really want to do them. And changing my focus on priorities. All right, so that was great. Today you talked about stats about how Teach Happier is doing out in podcast land, and congratulations to you on so many downloads and your success in so many countries and reaching people through the Atlantic radio station in Atlanta, and that's awesome. That's fantastic to hear. So congratulations to you as you wrap up 2023 of recording. Yes, you talked about putting time for yourself in your calendar to take care of yourself, family time, and other things as you move into the new year as a goal to increase your, own self-engagement, and be a better person, be a better you, be a better wife and educator and things like that. So great advice. I shall make sure I schedule time for myself. I'm going to be tying flies over the winter break here, and I'm getting ready for fishing season, but that is me time. And I'm so looking forward to sitting down and doing those things. All right, without further ado, we're going to wrap this up here soon. I got one more podcast to listen to before the end of this week and at the end of episode 150 of Fresh Air at 5. So, thank you, Suzanne. Appreciate you, and have a Merry Christmas. The last thing for December 22, 2023 is I'm coming up the hill, approaching home, and yes, I'm looking forward to a cup of coffee right away. I listened to episode 35 of the Optimalist podcast with Sarah Candela, and I really appreciate listening to what Sarah has to say about thinking in a, not a divergent way, but in a new way from the way that we think about making it through in our technology advanced world and keeping humanness close at hand so that we can continue to be human in this digital space that we find ourselves in. So many things that we do involve the use of electronic technology, and we need to be mindful of that so that we can do things sometimes that don't do that. Doing a puzzle with your family, that's fantastic. It's a puzzle. Playing games, going for a walk, doing all these things. So this is a bit of my reflection, because episode 35 of The Optimalist is called The Potential for Reflection. And it's about an essay. It's an essay that Brian Lamb wrote that was part of the Optimalist newsletter that came out about a month ago, Sarah said. And so she reads it to us. And there's so many good bits in there about self-awareness and the link between cognitive skills and mental health, and how we can, bridge some gaps between some things. And good morning. And so, yes, as we're going through our days, this is a rich episode. There's a lot in here. You could either go read the article by Brian Lamb himself or listen to this podcast that Sarah, as she brings it to us. Fantastic. Hey, Sarah, I hope you have a great winter break. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you coming to you from Abbotsford here. And it was great to be a guest on your podcast. I'm looking forward to when our episode will come out so we can listen to that. Thanks. All right. Talk to y'all. Have a great day. Bye.
As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.